Good evening and welcome. You're watching News X. I am Rishabh Gulati, and it's a story that was broken on News X 24 hours ago. Dawood Ibrahim, as far as we know, is now dead. The pretext seems to have come from Pakistan that he's died of coronavirus, but the reality of the inside story that has been published this morning in the Sunday Guardian seems to be indicating that it was not an innocuous death due to a global pandemic disease, that in fact it was the Pakistani establishment that was looking for a cause to get rid of someone that had become a thorn in their side and to find an excuse either of accident or illness to simply have him eliminated. The reasons the Pakistanis and their inter-services intelligence did not want to have any further truck with Dawood, at least in the like and form of the celebrity gangster, was because of the immense pressure that has been built from India via what have now become our good friends, the UAE and the Saudis. There were immense restrictions that were put on D Company, including the seizing of their assets in the Middle East, including the Emirates and in Saudi Arabia. There were extradition requests that were going in not only from India but from these countries as well, and it had become untenable in the Pakistani position to continue to have Dawood sitting in Karachi when every intelligence agency worth their salt knew exactly where he was and what he was up to. If indeed that is the case, and it seems increasingly it is, that Dawood Ibrahim has been eliminated by the ISI simply to remove a thorn, a very public thorn in their sides, what happens next? Because we cannot for a minute assume that the ISI no longer wants to continue its gangland operations, its Hawala operations, its drug operations that Dawood was fronting for so many decades. We have to assume that these will continue. How and in what form and in what ways do we now need to keep our flags up is a merit of conversation. Let's quickly have that conversation with us. Joining us on the broadcast, we have B.L. Vora, who spent his lifetime in uniform serving the police. M.L. Sharma, former Special Director of CBI, joining us on the telecast. Major General Dr. Gigi Dwivedi with us also, as is Madhav Nalapat, the Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Professor Nalapat, from our understanding of the story that's been published in the Sunday Guardian today, what has happened to Dawood Ibrahim, sir?
You know, I've checked his sources with Abhinandan. He's one of our really good correspondents. And I'm quite convinced that his sources are genuine, both inside the country and also outside, because as you know, a lot of information comes from outside India, from some of our friends and allies, and information in India is usually very tightly kept. So the point is very simple. The point is that the Osama bin Laden killing has spooked the ISI and GHQ, because like Dawood, they completely denied that any individual such as Osama or bin Laden or anybody was anywhere near Pakistan. And then lo and behold, they see the Americans come by, and take out the man, and their lie is exposed. Now, I think they were very afraid of a similar commando operation taking place concerning Dawood Ibrahim. So the information that is there is that they wanted him to disappear permanently. Now, I mean, normally in English, one would say disappear permanently means, go into the other world. So hence, this particular report.
Okay, Professor, I just want to go into two details with you before you rope in the rest of our guests, because the article talks about there existing a special division or a special desk that had been tasked with bringing Dawood to justice come what may. And address that, sir, and then I'll speak about the other extradition requests. But there seemed to have been an indication to Pakistan that the end game on Dawood would come, and it would come to their own humiliation.
Well, I'd like to say that, there have been many politicians and officials in India who unfortunately, and maybe our friend in the CBI will know something more about this, have used some of the Hawala networks, have also basically got the benefit of some of the narcotics money that Dawood was very strongly connected with. And that has kept him and his operations safe for a long period of time. Prime Minister Modi has basically, ensured the end of that. and very strong diplomacy with the United States, very strong diplomacy and very friendly diplomacy which are partners in the Middle East. And I would really like to salute, the UAE, Saudi Arabia. Oman has always been a good friend of India, and for basically standing by India in its war on terror in a way that was not done in the past. So this kind of pressure was brought to bear, and as a consequence, it is becoming increasingly difficult for the Pakistan establishment because Indian agencies, I'm told, constantly gave real-time information about Dawood.
Okay, let me just...
sometimes what he was wearing and where he went to or who visited him.
Okay, let me just quote directly from the article. Reportedly, PM Modi had ordered the creation of a specific RNAW desk that was constantly generating fresh inputs regarding Dawood's activities and presence in Pakistan, which was being shared with the relevant agencies of the US and UK. The PM's purpose was to bring him to justice, quote-unquote, come what may. Prime Minister Modi's relentless secret diplomacy with friendly powers resulted in external pressure that Islamabad found impossible to bear in the context of the desperate need of Pakistan for funds to rescue its economy. It carries on, according to official sources, it was expected that in the coming months, Pak PM Imran Khan would have been asked by Western countries with pressure from agencies like the FATF and IMF to extradite Dawood to the US. From there, the Don would have been sent to Delhi. Hence, the official that GHQ Rawalpindi decided to eliminate him before succumbing to such a scenario. His extradition to the US or to India would have opened the proverbial can of worms, which would have put the entire leadership of the Pakistani army under the spotlight. Professor Nalapat, now, in doing so, the reality is that Dawood, who was the front man, could not have done all of the things that he was doing transcontinentally across borders without the direct support, knowledge and involvement of the very highest officials of the Pakistani army establishment.
Well, there's no doubt about that, and Dawood has basically been the weapon that they have used against India for a long time. And in fact, in some countries in the in Europe also, LET has been active. Dawood has worked with the LET, and I'm told our agencies have given very good information to the European countries, to the United States, and also to some Middle Eastern countries. It's no secret that the extremists function in an ultra-Wahhabi theology. And this ultra-Wahhabi theology regards the royal families of the Middle East as individuals to be eliminated. And that would be a disaster for the region and a disaster for friendly countries such as India. So I think there's a commonality of purpose. And finally, I think, it was realized in Pakistan, this gentleman has to quote-unquote permanently disappear.
Okay, so let's just put things into perspective and let me get ML Sharma into this. This perspective is this. This is what we know as per the report that has been published this morning, that Pakistan simply wants Dawood Ibrahim to disappear. They have eliminated him, then they have created forged medical reports. They have ensured that his family, which includes through marriage people like Javed Miandad, the cricketer, to deny news. If anybody asks them, they simply don't know where Dawood is or that he has died, and they simply want this to disappear. Meanwhile, they would be communicating to the people that are putting them under pressure that, look, he's dead, we can't do anything, because they can all know, behind the scenes, they can't continue denying where he is, because everybody, as I mentioned, every intel agency worth its salt knew exactly down to his address where he was, and as Professor Nalapat has been pointing out, what he was wearing and what breakfast he had. So they couldn't deny it anymore. So they're simply going to say that he has died of COVID-19. ML Sharma now joins us on the telecast. Sharma ji, before I get into the details of this, over the past few years, through your own observations, sir, Dawood Ibrahim and the net around him, because 10 years ago he was being able to operate out of the UAE freely. He was coming and going, doing whatever he wanted. It was a safe haven from him. Were you seeing that change, sir, over the past several years?
It's true that last couple of years his movements have been restricted because Pak ISI doesn't want him to be seen moving around because of international pressure. There is no doubt about it. It is also true that his network has shrunk a bit, but to say that nothing of his old network survives will not be correct. So this is how I look at it. As far as death is concerned, I wish it were true, given the fact what he has done to our country. But still, it's not certain. As far as ISI doing him to death is concerned, Mr. Nalpat is most knowledgeable of all the panelists that you have invited, but I have a little doubt about it, because Dawood is not the only important terrorist whom they are harboring. Tiber Manan is also there, Tiger Manan, and there are other Sikh militants over there. If they get an inkling that Pak ISI, who has nurtured them for decades, is going to eliminate them, then they would run away from there and they would better face incarceration in India, and it will give ISI's game out. So I have my doubts. These are my initial doubts. They are based on logic, not any personal information.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Just hold that thought for a second, sir. Now, fundamentally, Dawood was important to Pakistan because he was frontlining the activities here in India. They included Hawala rackets, drug running, arms running. And the reality is, sir, we have been very reticent ourselves to investigate the people other than those linked directly to 93 in all the other activities that Dawood was running. Should this spur on that effort?
Rishabh, it's wrong to say that Indian agencies have been reluctant to pursue all the leads. The point is that when it comes to investigations abroad, you are simply handicapped. There's nothing that you can do, particularly in countries like Pakistan, which are totally hostile to us. So our agencies have been active, and they continue to be active, and they will continue to be active so long as the reach of their arm goes up to the neck of these people. But in Pakistan, it doesn't happen.
Okay, stay with me. Let me quickly get in General Dwivedi into this conversation as well as BL Vora. General Dwivedi, on the face of it, Dawood Ibrahim was a liability. Now, I agree with the premise that let us not be lulled that if Dawood is gone, then all his operations are wound up. We have to be very aware of those and continue to be tracking them down both within and without. And yes, there would be other terrorists within Pakistan who, if they get to know Dawood has been killed, would be putting bricks into their pants. But in these two contexts, had the pressure, Sir General Dwivedi, of the past several years been building on Pakistan?
Well, Rashid, I'll just like to give you a bit of strategic perspective, because only then you can understand the position of Dawood Ibrahim. Firstly, understand that as far as Pakistan is concerned, its main weapon today is proxy war. And in proxy war, you have various shades of terrorists, frontline soldiers who cross over. Then there are other golden boosters, like Osama bin Laden was there, and the likes of Dawood Ibrahim. They play a different role. So, fundamentally, proxy war is the main weapon of Pakistan. And in that, these terrorists are expendable. When they have been used, well, then they can be discarded. Now, that is the fundamental difference between the conventional and the proxy war. Now, let's come down to how exactly is ISI operating. Now, these terrorists are part of the ISI. They are being trained and operated by the ISI. So, therefore, one Dawood Ibrahim going is not going to change fundamentally the game of Pakistan. Second point, what I want to make is you must understand what is the environment today. Pakistan has been declared the epicenter of terrorism. They are under the very close watch of Financial Action Task Force. 4 days back, a UN report, 25th report came, which has categorically said that something like 6,500 Pakistanis are operating in Afghanistan as part of LAT or Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Correct.
So all these things are building up, and very important point, there is an understanding now, and it's sort of a, you can say, combined operations being conducted by India and US as far as the terrorist, war is concerned or anti-terrorist operations are concerned. And therefore, terrorism, basically you have to have very good intelligence. And that intelligence had been provided, as you rightly said, Prime Minister had created a special desk and they were keeping a very close watch, NTRO, RAW were very keeping a close watch. And I feel that had Pakistan not eliminated Dawood Ibrahim, our policy of counter-terrorism has changed, proxy war has changed. Now we have carried the war right inside Pakistan.
Do you feel, sir, and I know it's a supposition, but we are allowed to make it since we are not sitting here in official capacity. Do you feel that Pakistan had the inkling that India is in a position to actually have Dawood taken out if they didn't do something themselves?
Absolutely. I think they had very strong inkling that India and US combined had the capacity to take him out, and that would have been very embarrassing that we take him out, bring his body and display it around the globe. That would have been very, very embarrassing. I think what I feel is they had taken a very deliberate decision. Possibly Dawood Ibrahim was no more a golden goose.
Yeah, okay, fine. So we put the puzzle pieces together. He outlives his usefulness. He becomes a liability. There's the imminent danger of him falling perhaps into Indian hands or Indian hands via media, via the US, which would mean that the Pakistani hierarchy would have been exposed. He becomes your next David Headley, and all the crows come home to roost. So better to avoid it and get rid of him. BL Vora, just come into this. The immediate aftermath, and we are drawing the assumption that this is true unless we are told otherwise, of an elimination of Dawood Ibrahim by the Pakistanis themselves. What does that tell us about the successful models we can come up with to contain Pakistan? That if you do squeeze them on all sides, eventually they have to start taking tough decisions for themselves.
First of all, I think if we get further confirmation from any authoritative source that it's true that he has been killed, I think it's a good news. To that extent, I think Pakistan has lost an asset. They could have dispatched with him earlier also, but they are still keeping him because he is a real good source for them for creating trouble for India from various fronts. Now, India also, is a good news in the sense that at least one man is gone. It would have been better had we got him live, but that has not been possible. Now, you're right when you said that Pakistan is under pressure from all sides. One is, of course, FATF and IMF, then America, then even UAE and Saudi Arabia, now in India. India has been giving information about Dawood to various agencies earlier also, correct information. And he has been in the focus, maybe now more with the Prime Minister's directions. But point is, nobody was acting. But the world order has changed now so much that this time, United States and UK and UAE and Saudi Arabia have also got together to put Pakistan under pressure. Another pressure is India is likely to be elected to the United Nations Security Council shortly, as we all know. And then in the case of spying recently, as you know, they made a fool of themselves. So they are totally baffled. Pakistan doesn't know what to do.
Okay.
Now, he was an asset for them. He could have, but now they felt that if others take him out, it will be great insult.
Okay, on the assumption, sir. Now, on the assumption that this is authentic information, this is exactly what's happened. For viewers just joining us, the information, yes.
Now, another thing is, Rishabh, that now they'll be worried about Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar and other people also now. Because they would now know that India has put so much of pressure now, and China has a limitation.
No, I just want to touch upon that. It's a very important point. Mr. Sharma brought up the same point. I want to touch upon that. But before that, BL Vora, is this an opportunity for us also to begin to clean house? Dawood could not do the things he wanted to do without access to the top Pakistani establishment. But we know he had links within India also. How do we clean up?
Well, I think those people must be already on the radar, and whatever action agencies can take, it's being taken. It must be taken. But point is still, as you said very rightly, he may be having, and he surely would be having second rung of leadership who would be working and doing whatever he was doing. So I think focus has to be on them also. But yes, the boss has gone. I think that's a very good news. And to that extent, their back will be broken.
Okay, let me now pick up this point with Professor Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, now immediately 2 points. Number one, is this an opportunity for us to clean up house and actually break the racket before some other less known frontman takes it over? And number two, what is then this a message for Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar and company?
First of all, make it something, frankly, the media has not really focused. Leadership in this whole
Okay, Professor, just forgive me. I'm just going to interrupt you for a second.
On Pakistan.
Yeah, Professor Nalapat, sorry, I think we just lost your internet connection there. I think you're back now. Yeah, sir, carry on, sir. Go ahead, carry on.
See, the Prime Minister has been central to this. He has a special desk, as you said, to ensure that information is there on Dawood Ibrahim. And very strong effort to ensure that Pakistan networks are identified, isolated, and our friends abroad are informed about it so that they will not, just back away from action. And that diplomacy has been very successful. Now, I want to remind you, Rishabh, that look, Pakistan has surrendered terrorists in the past. They have surrendered some of their prized assets to the United States in the past. Because when the pressure became too much, they decided better to surrender. And I can also remind you that there have been several reports appearing that Dawood is sick with some kidney disease. He has got some terrible disease. His vital organs are in trouble. Now, I think all this has been a preliminary to what, frankly, what has been written there permanently disappear. Now, some of us can pass that in one way. Maybe, you're sent off to a holiday destination and all communication.
Or in fact, that you've been eliminated in a different context.
Permanently.
Okay, now...
So the point is, the one last point, yes, there are networks in India, and it is very important to ensure that these networks also are rolled up, and it is very, very important to do that. And for that, we can take the help of the United States, we can help the help of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc., and to ensure that these networks are basically rolled up.
Okay, so now let's quickly examine the impact. General Dwivedi, help me understand this. Now, if this is correct, then we are reaching an assumption, as ML Sharma raised, that if you are at Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, what do you do? Because you will have the information authentically that Dawood has been eliminated, and you could be next.
Absolutely. In proxy war, terrorism, leadership matters, because ground soldiers really don't matter. If you can take out the leadership, you can actually seriously dent the organization. I want to bring in 2 points. Why was China so much, interested in protecting Jaish chief Maulana Masood Azhar? There is an understanding between Chinese and the terrorist organization in Pakistan, because China is very concerned about Xinjiang.
Correct.
And that is the Uyghur region. So they have a tacit understanding that the terrorist organization in Pakistan keep away from Xinjiang, and they will do their best to protect their interest. There is a quid pro quo. That is point number one. Second point is, at this time, I think India must go proactive.
Okay.
We must carry out operations right inside Pakistan, take out these people, have them on the run, so that they know that they have to pay now heavy price, cost prohibitive, in case they continue in the same way. So therefore, I think proxy war, terrorism have to be fought both inside Pakistan, on the border, and inside our territory through the global cooperation, and for that intelligence and global support is very essential.
Okay, intelligence and global support is essential on this. Let me quickly get in ML Sharma back into this. ML Sharma, taking this step forward, sir, to actually break the network of the drug and the Hawala racket, what do we do?
I have been talking about it, and I say it today with all the authority that I can command, that we need to enact a law against organized crime. All these activities that we are talking about, they constitute organized crime. Only Maharashtra has enacted Makoka
Correct.
and some other states, but we don't have a national law. So, we have to enact law against organized crime, and this will be in line with the international treaties that India is a signatory to. This is point number one. Point number two, we need to create a national agency to investigate selected cases of organized crime. Agency like NIA. Now they pick and choose cases of terrorism. Small cases are continued to be invested by the state agencies, and important cases come to the NIA. Likewise, for organized crime also, this kind of arrangement needs to be made. And three, the greatest weakness of Indian criminal justice system is unduly delays in trials. So something has to be done about it. You institute a case and keeps on pending for 15 years, 20 years, and I'm told in Maharashtra, even Makoka cases, they are pending for long number of years. Law, loses its teeth, is cutting edge when trials take so long. These are few steps.
Okay.
Indian agencies are capable of handling it.
Okay, specifically, now it's been a
provided that-
controversial one every time a Makoka-like law has been proposed at the center, but something needs to be done. And of course, we can't shy away from the fact that when there are people who are afraid that a lot of things will come out from the past, 20 years ago, 30 years ago on them, the incentive for getting things done seems to get greatly reduced. Let me quickly get in B.L. Vora back into this conversation. B.L. Vora ji, in terms of now looking at it from a picture of India breaking these Hawala rackets, India breaking these drug rackets, what can be done, sir?
I think that there is sufficient information already available with the intelligence agencies, and they now, with our good connections with Dubai and all, I think mainly these are the countries where I think Hawala racket is more pronounced. I think with their cooperation, it will be much easier now to operate. I think there has been it's a big game changer, Saudi Arabia and UAE coming on board along with the United States now. I think it has been a very big change. And I think on this front also, things will be better, they'll be expedited. And UAE, as you know, has been even extraditing terrorists to our country also. So I think maybe we may be getting more
Okay, so
people.
this is the beginning, not the end. It's the beginning, not the end. Okay, let me quickly get a last word in from General Dwivedi. General Dwivedi, Rahul, if we are seeing a situation where Dawood is a gone case, he's been eliminated by lethal injection, chemical injection, whatever exactly that's happened. In that event, is Tiger Memon next? Are there others we need to watch out for?
Well, I think this, hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that this, either elimination or killing of Dawood will send a very strong message. It's a very strong message to the other, players like Hafiz Syed and Maulana Masood Azhar. At least they will now lie low. They will not expose themselves, and this is a strong deterrent. But I think we need to continue this. We need to go in for leadership, because leadership is the most important in terrorism and counter proxy war. And our approach must be very proactive, and we must get the collaboration of the Saudi Arabia, UAE, US.
Work further. Okay, here's the big success of working with the Saudis.
Again, intelligence is the cutting edge.
Okay,
and we must go in for these chaps now.
Okay, ML Sharma, last word on this, sir. I'll leave a quick word with Professor Nalapat. ML Sharma.
Yes. As I said, I am a lawman. I talk of strong law. I recommend enactment of law. And of course, that law also incorporates international cooperation, friendly countries which we are talking about. Once cooperation comes from these friendly countries, and once we have a strong law in position, and once we spruce up our adjudicatory system, our court system, I think we should be in a position to handle this problem better.
Okay, Professor Nalapad, last quick word on this, sir.
Well, I simply want to say that, the Pakistan's method is proxy war. It is an all-out war. And I quite agree with the other discussions that we have to go completely all out in this particular war. So I fully share their view. And regarding special laws, that's also fine. But one problem that we are facing is that, frankly, officials in India are very reluctant to make anything transparent, with the result that members of the public like you and me, we get a little suspicious. Why this lack of transparency? In fact, there is no reason for this excessive transparency in the Indian system, and I hope the government will take a lesson and involve civil society more actively, because civil society is a front line of defense against crime and against terrorism.
Okay, here's the bottom line. The information that has been published in the Sunday Guardian suggests that Dawood Ibrahim has not died of coronavirus. He's actually been killed by chemical injection given under the instructions of top Pakistani establishment people from the military and perhaps even the highest levels of the military leadership. He has been eliminated. His family has been told to simply obfuscate the fact by denying any rumors. They want this man to simply disappear because they can never own up to the fact that he is dead or to the fact that he was in Pakistan. This does not eliminate the organization that Dawood Ibrahim was running. We have to be deeply cognizant of it, but it does prove that a lot of effective diplomacy and realpolitik has resulted in immense pressure on Pakistan, where one of their greatest terrorism assets was put under so much pressure that they had to simply get rid of him. If the same can apply on a Hafiz Saeed, where an or else approach is given, either you get rid of these people yourselves or we catch them and make them spill the beans, in which case all your top establishment will go down with them. That fundamental fact is now clear. We leave it there.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.